Welcome to another fun episode of the Your Little Castle Show. You know, you can't have a house, you can't have a home, right? You can't have a household. You can't really have a family in your house unless you've got some leadership development, right? Unless you've got some
facts,
some entertainment with regard to something that the family can do together. So we're very fortunate to have on today's show one of the top artists in the country right now. There's Willie J.
All right.
And Willie is because we've been working together so long, he's become a co-host on the show here.
I'm excited.
And a superstar co-host at that. So we really appreciate you taking the time. But Willie has some other fun, cool, powerful, influential people, emerging musicians, but established world champions. So I'm going to give a shout out real quick to some of our sponsors. You can see out there, boy, we've got some cool people we're working with. There's my buddy Dan from Napleton. And then, of course, everybody knows Carroll House, Brooke Dubman, both awesome sponsors. We're so proud to have them on the show here. And you can see them up behind me and on Your Little Castle Show. But, oops, I pressed the button the wrong way. That's all right. But here is the look at this resume, ladies and gentlemen. And I know, am I putting you on the spot a little bit? I apologize.
Man, right here.
How often, I didn't quite realize it. I took a guess, and I was up. You guys really got my email at like 2 o'clock in the morning, I think.
You know how we do, man.
And we just work.
We just grind.
And I said, I took a guess, because I couldn't count all the titles. It was hard to find. And it's just this title, and this championship. So I'm going to summarize for Arthur Flash Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, in the studio here, part of the Pure Mission Entertainment Network, helping empower people. I'll let Willie talk about that.
People, changing lives, creating hope through arts and entertainment. And,
Yes, absolutely.
You got it.
This is the legendary Arthur Flash Johnson. We're from the same city, and we're going to let him kind of tell you how, we came together and just, let's start with the boxing first, though, and leading up into the music.
Yeah, let's talk about, so you've got, I'm going to read them off here real quick, and I want you to touch on these.
Okay.
Goodwill Games gold medalist, winner of 12 national titles.
Yes, sir.
National 12 titles, and 3-time pro world boxing titles, and an emerging musical artist. Willie, what's your perspective on that?
Well, it just shows he's a man of many gifts and talents, and the God-given gifts, and I feel like we have to use those, and he's a prime example of releasing all of your potential. And brother, how did we meet, though? By the way.
Wow. Wow. It seems like it's been a long time ago, by the way, right?
That's right.
We met at, of all places, the post office.
Check it out.
And we both had a mutual buddy there.
Yep.
And he took the time to introduce us. He says, I think this guy would be interesting, and I think this guy would be interesting to each of us, he said.
Absolutely.
And he said, hey, you guys should connect.
Yeah, he did.
And,
he did.
When he did that, basically because of the way that we've been taught, right?
Right.
We took the time out to cordially introduce ourselves to each other.
Right.
Not knowing that it would lead to what it led to.
What it led to. No doubts, no doubts.
So that's where we met.
Yeah.
The post office.
And it's an amazing story, and I had no clue that this was that world champion from the same hoods and city and streets of East St. Louis, Illinois. And I'm like, wow, where are we from? This is the Arthur Flash Johnson that I've heard about. And little did I know he could sing, but what made you want to box? Before the music, what made you want to box and become the champ that you are?
Man, listen, I always envisioned myself as a kid, I would go around in my home, the home I grew up in, and I would put something called aluminum foil in my mouth. And
Aluminum foil?
Aluminum foil, because that would be my mouthpiece.
Okay.
And so I had this dream that I would boxing, and even before I knew what shadow boxing was, I was doing that in the home. And I happened to have an experience very early in life with boxing. I probably was around about maybe 9 or 10 years old.
Wow.
And some kids were boxing on the outside, and I went out and asked if I could be a part of that. And of course, not knowing anything about boxing, going,
Really?
jumping in head first, getting knocked on my tush. But it would take a few years later that I would actually be introduced to it the right and proper way. And so I got into boxing at around about age 12.
Wow.
To be exact.
Wow. So, what was it like fighting for your first title, man?
Well,
how did you prepare for that? Because we know about preparation before destination, right? Cowboy, we always talk about that.
So
we all talk
you
about
get to a certain level, it's like you just plopped on planet Earth and that's where you were.
Right.
No, there was usually 10 or 12 or 20 years of work to get you there, right?
And it's such a long story because earlier in my career, I took on a few bumps and bruises, if you will. And you get knocked on your toes from time to time.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I didn't have that experience of getting knocked on my tush often. I paid attention to the guys who were teaching and how it all came to pass for me growing up in the projects. These two gentlemen, one by the name of Benjamin Stiff and James Hook, came into our neighborhood and they offered us another solution as opposed to what we were doing, which was not very much. So we were a gang of kids that were looking for something to do positive. And these two men took us both in. It was a gang of us kids, and if you ask me the number, I probably definitely would be off on the number of kids that it was participating at the time. But they took us and started to teach us the very fundamentals of the sport, and from there the story it goes on. I stayed with it until I had my first bout, and after my first bout, of course, got the bug to want to continue on moving forward, and then we went into. I came into my own around about age 16, 17 years old, and started rattling off titles and winning national titles. And
how old?
Probably about 16, 17 years old. I probably remember winning my first one at 18, winning my 18, and then when I started to win them, I started to really kind of put together a string of wins and national titles that had not been done before in this country. And so most people know me from the amateur career more so than the pro career because I was kind of dominant force.
And let's touch it. This is what I want. The whole method for the whole, we had the Cardinal Cowboy show that got picked up by the Cowboy judge, and we're still doing that show. We were in the studio recently filming more of those. And then I've got, like I said, this is an offshoot for more geared towards the family. And we want to help kids understand, this has been my method for a long time, how do we get that message out to kids to understand that, like in my case, most people have heard this by now, but a lot of people have not, I was in a coma. They gave me less than 50-50 odds to survive. I came out of it. They said they're going to take care of me for the rest of my life. Still some question about that part, if people need to take care of me or not. But done all right. But I then went on to do some things that nobody expected. And not that I'm any better or special or anything, but I was in a very, very bad situation. Like, I don't know what's worse than a coma. I think death is the next closest thing. And that's hard to even imagine, but whatever. But how many people get into a situation hopefully isn't as bad as a coma, but it may be a bad accident, or maybe a divorce within the family, parents, or the dog got ran over, or the girlfriend broke up with them, and it's devastating to that person, especially when they're really young. How can they understand that? Share, if you will, a little bit about what you overcame as a kid to help these kids understand. You see Arthur Flash Johnson with 12 national titles, 3 pro boxing titles. And like, well, good for him, but how the heck do I ever do that? He didn't just poof, wake up one day, and that's what he was. There was a whole series. You touched on it a little bit. Talk a little bit about some of those hurdles.
All that was definitely was a process. It's a process. Is beginning when you first walk into a gymnasium, or when you first walk into a situation, a club that teaches boxing. You've got to have there has to be a discipline thing there, and you really have to be able to see it before you can be it, if you will. You have to be able to see it. You have to be able to imagine it, if you will. And if you can imagine it and see it and stay disciplined and stay moving forward in the positive direction, because there's certainly a lot of the stuff when I was growing up, gangster stuff, that was definitely available to get into. And trouble is always the easiest thing you can get into. But staying disciplined and doing the right things always can be a challenge. for a lot of kids. And so if you can gear your energy toward that is positive, and listening to what that coach says, who's offering you a way out, and that was a way out for a lot of us kids. And there was certainly 3 of us that kind of stayed with it more than all the gang of kids that was there. And if you ask me what the number was, probably, if I'm guessing right, maybe 20, 25 kids or so. And it just kind of dwindled down, and to us 3 kids kind of staying with it, and then me taking it the furthest.
But you had some negative influences that were there, as do most kids. Sometimes some kids have much worse situations than others. Sometimes and I almost feel sorry for the kids that have had things handed to them, because they don't know how to really survive on this little planet, because it's tough, man. But the kids who've been through some hard knocks, come from a background that was a little tougher, they know how to make it happen.
Yes,
that's right.
Some of them do end up off the path anyway. We know that happens. We're trying to help as many of those as we can. But for yourself, you're saying you managed to. Do you think sports, do you think boxing was that method that kept you in line?
Yes, I think it was an outlet for me. It definitely helped me to stay focused. It helped me to gear my energy, all that energy that I had, because a lot of the kids have a lot of energy and it's not being used properly. If we can gear that energy towards something positive, then we're going to have something that's going to turn out to be great, and something that's going to turn out to be beneficial, not only for them, but perhaps their families as well.
Well, I'm thinking while we have Willie here, you're the co-host here with me, but I want to pick your brain a little bit with, tell us a little bit similar. Tell us about because I think it's just a great story, and some people may have seen your other interviews with me, but let's say it again, because some people may have missed it, not have had the opportunity. Is Arthur correct here, saying these are the paths that you can go down very easily?
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, I wanted more of a point, because we didn't really make that point to the extent I think it's important. It's easier, like Arthur said, it's easier to go that way.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't know, nobody's over your shoulder telling you. In some cases, like your mom and dad can't be there 24/7.
That's right.
But you need to be on path. And where did you make the bad decisions? And the kids make, not you particularly, if you want to talk about whatever you went through, but where you said, I got to switch directions here and get to where you're at now in GQ and Forbes and all the things you've accomplished. #1 selling song. We'll talk about that a little bit. Unbelievable. Similar stuff? Was it easier?
It's very similar, very similar. And mine just so happened to be music. And even with that, you could have the best parents in the world. A pastor is a father, and nothing's perfect, mama's boy, she's in heaven now. That peer pressure, man, peer pressure. I was a project baby as well, like him. We grew up in the same neighborhoods, and, found myself hustling drugs at one point, trying to get a fast buck, and didn't realize the consequences, and had a lot of close calls, and just had to start changing my circle, man, A lot of my neighbors and best friends, some of them were dope dealers and gangsters,
And so the point I try to make is that, like you're saying, Willie, and what you said, Mr. Flash Johnson, Arthur.
Champ.
I
call him Champ.
You guys are embarrassing.
I can't believe you're sitting on. This guy has more titles than anyone in the history of boxing. That's been documented.
He deserves his flowers.
And just
he deserves his flowers.
Sitting here with us on this set. I kind of pinched myself. All right. But the point I want these kids to understand, and some adults get stuck and they really think their life is over because they're 35 and they're working at whatever job they don't think is adequate enough to impress anybody, and they're stuck and they just go, my life's over. No, you can start life at age 70 if you have to, but whenever, but especially for kids. I know what happens. I speak to kids at different organizations and groups, and you can just see they got big eyes, they're ready to go, but somebody somewhere along the line told them that they're not going to be able to do it. They told me this after my coma. He's not going to be able to do it. These are doctors that were telling me in my case. That's the harder, whatever. That's crazy. They need, what is it that do you think gives that kid that little burst to say, wait a minute, you became and you come from a background was no different than mine, or maybe better, or maybe worse, and you made it? Do you think I can do that? Is that what is possible here? I want somebody to tell me, am I crazy? Is it absolutely the truth? Any kid can go for this if they are willing to do what they...
Absolutely. And it just kind of brings up a point to what I'm doing now with the Arthur Johnson Foundation. We help these kids, we point out to them, and usually if you can reach a kid, a lot of times the kid can reach their families You know, it should be almost kind of the opposite of that, right? Because, you know, the parents should be the one that, but in a lot of our cases, we have kids that really influences their family. And if we're able to share with them the hope that this is all a possibility, if you're able to give yourself to it, if you're able to sell out to it, if you're able to dedicate yourself, discipline yourself, and do the things that you need to do, you know, showing up. You know, being a winner is basically showing up. A lot of that's the first part of it. Showing up.
First step to success is showing up.
Showing up.
Being there, putting in the time.
And so we've had a number of kids that we've had to come through our program, through the Arthur Johnson Foundation, the Flash Boxing Gym, that stuck with it, hung on, and came from improbable places. But at the end of the day, when they stand winning a national title, and it's my hope to duplicate, When you can duplicate yourself, then you've done something.
That's
and
awesome.
so,
well, if you've reached the levels you have, that's going to be hard to duplicate. But would you agree that at least, because I didn't make it as a pro baseball player, I have coaches that told me that I had what it took, I was going to make it, it was a matter of time, and then God had a different path for me. And I could have very easily, I was actually going down that path of, this sucks, this isn't fair, I'm just going to vegetate in my parents' basement. But what is it that causes the switch to happen? You go, wait a minute, it doesn't have to be this way.
Right.
And for me, it's not a matter of, and Willie, I don't know if you agree with this or not, you might, but I feel a little bit weird sharing some of my accomplishments. But at the same time, it's like, I don't care so much what people think that are going to be jealous or hateful. They got another issue. We'll deal with them at some other point.
Absolutely.
But for the kids that need to hear that, because when I tell about the things that I've accomplished, I go, but you understand, I have no better ability than you. I have no better talent than you. I'm not any smarter than anybody else. It's somebody who has the will, who's willing to stick with it, who's willing to go after it, that will beat the guy who's smarter, more talented, more athletic.
Resilient.
Because they're willing to go for it and never give up. And the point being, that it's truly the case, unless there's some other, like, I don't want to talk about the things that, but we've seen people that are in wheelchairs, et cetera. Obviously, a different set of circumstances there, and I would still encourage them to go. Maybe they can't play basketball, but they can still become a PhD and a philosopher or whatever to make a. And when is it at the point where we can say to kids, anything is possible? You got to go after it, and they may not become Arthur Flash Johnson. But they will probably become a great coach. And they really get to influence a lot of kids and change lives that way. What is both you guys tell me about that perspective?
I would say the power of now. And if you spell now backwards, it spells one.
Right? You keep coming up with these. These are great, man. I gotta write that one down. It's another
take
one.
Care now,
Willie
later
J.
looks
Close.
better. You strive to do the right thing.
Yeah, people talk about it, think about it, and then they don't ever do it.
The power of now, you know, and that's what I had to start doing. And it's possible with anyone, and with the help of God, you know.
Right.
So,
I mean, I'm just gonna
I'm
gonna piggyback off Willie here and say that if you can see it, you can be it. That's what I said earlier.
I like that.
If you can see it, you can be it. You have to be able to envision yourself. And I'm gonna tell you a quick little short story about before I became all that champion stuff. I would walk around in those projects. I would take long walks, and I would envision myself being interviewed by such and such, maybe Howard Cosell at the time there, right? So I would envision myself seeing that. I would envision myself doing it. So I think if you can get them to begin to envision themselves, if they can see it, they can be it. That's one of the things that we really talk about. And that is being able to envision and see it. And if you envision it, and if you envision and you see it, then you're going to do those things that you've got to do to get yourself in those positions, and let them know that it is possible. You know, you're going to basically come up against some challenges, and those are the things that if I didn't say that, then I'm not being real. I'm not being true.
Practicing what you preach.
Exactly. So you're going to come up against some challenges, but the key thing is if you can see it, you can be it. You can overcome it.
That's right.
You can overcome it.
Sure.
And that's how we get them into the winning circle.
Yes. And it, like I said, it is rare. And I hate the coaches that say, and they don't say this out loud too often, but they know this kid does not have the skills to make it to the professional level. But the skills he's going to learn from playing this sport, from being part of this team, are going to get him through life in an exceptional way to where they become the chief of police or the firefighter or the nurse or the doctor or the mechanic that gives them the skills to have a fulfilled life. And really, like my dad never made a ton of money. That was for sure. It was kind of, well, I'm not going to be a college admissions counselor because I know a little bit about how much money they make. But he had a completely fulfilled life because he made such an impact helping kids go to college. And if anybody has a similar contribution, it's hard to have a job or career on this planet where you're not contributing somehow to help people. So the key is get into something where you can get into that career, whatever it is, and go for the top like Willie or go for the top like you, and maybe you get there like you guys do, but if you don't, you still could end up maybe just doing what the Cardinal Cowboy does, running around in a baseball uniform.
You made it. You made it.
You gave such a great example, and I would rather have a kid that comes to the gym who may not be the most talented kid, he may not be the most gifted kid, but a kid that has a hard work ethic, and he's going to pay attention, he's going to become what you call a student of the game, he's going to be teachable. I would rather have that kid than to have a kid who's flat out talented.
No doubt.
Because most of the time with those kids, there's a lack of something. There's a certainly, and it starts in the home, there's a lack of something there, and it's kind of hard for them to get over the fact that they have this, they already have this God-given, whatever it may be. But a kid that doesn't have that, but have those ethics, those work hard ethics, that discipline type of ethics that it's going to take and focus. I would rather have that kid because, as you pointed out, he's going to turn out maybe not being a champion so much here in the ring or here at this particular piece of competition, but he's going to turn out to do some great things in his life because that track record of being disciplined is going to follow him.
Yeah, whoever sticks with it and wins the race,
that's it,
or finishes top, consistently wins the game.
That's it. Resilience is brilliant.
Consistency. There it is again. Really, everybody. Before we run out of time here, it goes fast on it. This is a half-hour show, and we're almost through it. You got some pretty impressive. I found a couple of these. Willie sent me a bunch. I found a couple on my own. But like this guy with the hair that goes straight up.
Right.
That's like that is the king, Don King.
Don King,
who is like the king of boxing.
Right.
Legendary Don King.
I know Arthur made it, but you made it. There's Don King. Talk about some of these pictures that I see on my computer screen in front of me, but people are looking on the wall here.
Yeah.
Talk about what was it like working with Don King.
Oh, it was great working with Don King. I mean, he's the ultimate promoter. A lot of people try to be like him today, and there's only one of him. That guy he will sell you just about anything, So,
but did that help get you to that level? So you got into some of the fights you may not have gotten, or would you have gotten there anyway? Or how did Don play a part?
Well, Don played a part because he promoted a few of my bouts that led to championships and things of that nature. Him and Angelo Dundee had a huge relationship because of Muhammad Ali. And so I was a part of the Muhammad Ali.
Did you meet Muhammad Ali?
Muhammad Ali came to see me box. Man, I probably was around him a great deal without even having a conversation with him because I was a member of the Ali family with Angelo Dundee.
Wow.
So I was a member of that family.
That's impressive.
And in fact, a few years ago, before Ali died, of course, Angelo passed, and I was sitting right behind, Ali. So we never even really had a conversation, although Angelo would tell Ali about me, and then, of course, me about Ali. So we were family members. We were in the family. So that's basically how that
Muhammad Ali had no idea who I was, but you're sitting there having conversations about you. Unbelievable. All right, a couple belts here we've got. You're wearing them. They're in your storage safe up there. I mean, some big fights.
Right.
All cool stuff. We had more time. I tell you, it goes so fast. the other thing now, this is where Willie kind of comes in. I think you guys explained to me.
Yes.
You guys have a #1 hit going on out there. It's had millions of listens,
we have
views.
several Billboard hits.
And you're singing in it.
Yes.
So Willie made it now. Willie's trying. He's helping people. He's become an agent, I guess, right? Is it?
He's my manager.
He's your manager?
Yes.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
And then I hear you sing, and I'm like,
man, he got some V's.
Arthur is multi-talented, multifaceted. Because I heard you sing. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
We'll play that video. Okay. Either we have to edit that in or whatever. We'll do that.
Right on.
But that's just amazing. We get the launch. It's going to be of that coming up here. Probably this show will air after that show. Because you were in our studio last week. That's going to air this coming week. On the Your Little Castle show.
We had a great time.
Our first show ever went last night. I had to watch it at 12. It was after Modern Family.
All right.
So we had a great time slot for that. But I mean, just what you guys are working on together, and just you get the opportunity, I guess I say, but
I'm honored.
Arthur
honor.
Flash Johnson, he wants to sing and can sing.
And he can sing. And this is why I put him on numerous records, too.
Right.
He had that soulful, gritty voice, you know what I mean? On Sunshine with the Rain, we #3 on Billboard in Europe, right? And then #2 with We Love You Puerto Rico, featuring various artists. My man's on here, on that one. And then he's on the EP that you see. We're both on the what is that? The New York Times Billboard, Times Square, and now leading up to now, working on his hit single, "Time Is Changing."
Time is changing.
Time is changing. I had the honor of singing background with his beautiful wife, Latanya, and he's a good writer too, man. He's not just a great singer; the guy can write. He's a great lyricist.
Thank you.
And this is a timely song, and it needs to be heard.
Yes.
Okay, and it's about coming together.
And I want to just say something very briefly about that. I want to thank the guys that played a part in it.
Timmy.
You know, Timmy Chandler, professor at Southern Illinois University.
Tim. Great production, buddy.
Did a great job on it. My son played the drums. And then we had Josiah. Josiah played the guitar, lead guitar. Of course, you on vocals, and my wife on vocals.
Well, just so everybody can see, because we're about to run out of time here, guys. But right there, that middle picture, that is a screenshot I took from the video that I got exclusive rights before it went public. And you're standing in the studio while Willie's playing the piano.
That's where we recorded it at, too.
That's right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be part of the Your Little Castle, let us know. If you know a leader in the community, if you know some businesses, that's where we're really striving to help the businesses that are tied to the home, to the household, to the family, and to help make your home Your Little Castle.
I like it.
Let us know. Go to yourlittlecastle.com, and thanks for helping me with this one, man.
And thanks for having us, man. You're a superstar as well, and thanks for having me bring this superstar with me today.
My pleasure. If I can just shake your hand. This hand has thrown thousands of professional.
Congratulations on hitting the 500,000 streams on this bad boy too.
500,000.
Thank you.
There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed our next rendition of the Your Little Castle show. We got much more coming for you. Giddy up.
Giddy up.
All right.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Your Little Castle. If you would like to be on the show, please text us at 636-565-0305. Giddy up.